It is the Monday edition of the Bleav in Steelers show. Mark Bergin here, flying solo today. Quick pod discussing Brandon Aiyuk, the rumors to the Steelers, the rumors he could go to the Commanders. Is he going to stay in San Francisco? We will get to that. But first things first, let's pay the bills. Today's episode of Bleav in Steelers is brought to you by betonline.ag. Got Major League Baseball, golf, soccer, UFC. The Olympics is right around the corner. Got live odds, spreads, player props. If you want to place a bet on any of the action, betonline.ag is the place to do it. Head over to the website to get in on the action. Use our promo code Bleav. That's BLEAV for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. Brandon Aiyuk goes on the Pivot podcast with our guy, Ryan Clark. And he mentions the possibility that, okay, he'll probably play for the 49ers in the 2024 season, owed a little bit more than $14 million this coming season, final year of his deal. But he mentions the Steelers among other teams he could play for. He said the Commanders would likely be first, and then he mentions the Steelers. And the question I have is, for what price? Because if you trade for Brandon Aiyuk, say a first or second round pick, the contractual value probably isn't worth it, considering he only has 1 year left on his deal. And this is where Omar Khan has excelled as general manager, is his understanding of positional value, contractual value. And the analogy in the comparison I want to make, if the Steelers do trade for Brandon Aiyuk, is look what the Chicago Bears did and what they traded for Keenan Allen earlier this offseason. Now, you might say, Mark, what's the comparison here? Aiyuk's, 26 years old. Keenan Allen's 32. The Bears gave up a fourth-round pick for a player entering the final year of his deal. If you're going to trade for Brandon Aiyuk, anything more than a third-round pick, and even if you do trade a third-round pick, you need to be certain that he's going to then re-sign with your team. Now, the Steelers, in my opinion, still need a receiver. I know we're excited about what Roman Wilson can do, and right now it looks like Van Jefferson is your number two. Who's your number two receiver behind George Pickens? God forbid George Pickens gets hurt. What are you going to do at the receiver position? It's like when you're playing Madden, what the ratings are for the different players. There's no one on the Steelers roster right now that's going to knock your socks off and say, wow, that is a great Robin to George Pickens' Batman. And we'll see if George Pickens can be a Batman. That's why I think it's going to be a big season for Pat Freiermuth. Got to get him back into the mix. I know he's battled injuries. I felt that the Steelers just kind of abandoned him in their game plan. I think he's going to be a big part of the passing game in 2024. But it's the reason why when you see a player like Brandon Aiyuk, he's got to be thinking about it from this standpoint. He's on a 49ers team. Kyle Shanahan, really talented, one of the most prolific offenses in all the NFL. You got CMC there. You got Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. What is he, third or fourth in line in what is like a stellar rock band that the 49ers have with their offensive firepower that they have led by Brock Purdy and company? So that's the reason why you say, Mark, well, $14.1 million sounds pretty good for the 2024 season for Brandon Aiyuk. At 26, he's going to want to make a big payday. And that's also why with George Pickens at this point, entering year 3, you're going to end up paying him if you're Pittsburgh. Do you want to take on someone like Aiyuk? Could they coexist with the amount of money that both players likely seek? Maybe not right now for 2024, but Aiyuk in 2025 and beyond. And then when George Pickens' rookie deal is up, he's going to get the bag. It's the reason why you trade away Deontay Johnson to Carolina, because you think that George Pickens is that guy. If teams are going to bracket him and put a safety over the top, and I'm talking about George Pickens here, who is the other guy opposite him who can win one-on-one matchups? And that's why I get excited about the possibility of Brandon Aiyuk. But a third-round pick right now is about where I'd come down. And if the Steelers were to trade for him, can you get him to sign a contract extension to keep him in a Steelers uniform, or see if the 49ers can keep him long-term? But I think it's very interesting that he's mentioning other teams other than the 49ers on the Pivot podcast. So the 49ers are likely the biggest the most likely possibility. The Commanders, you get excited about Jaden Daniels, but to me, that's a total rebuild. You have no new ownership on down, totally blank canvas in Washington. If you're Aiyuk, I'd rather run it back with San Francisco, even on that $14 million deal for another shot at winning a Super Bowl. You go to Washington, you are not going to win a Super Bowl in the 2024 season with a rookie quarterback. I'd rather run it back with Brock Purdy and company and see what you can do of, can I ball out yet again and then get that big deal that I want, whether it's in San Francisco or elsewhere. But we see the Instagram story where he's wearing the Pittsburgh Pirates hat. It's the reason why we're talking about today was we get really excited when we look at a player of his caliber, a really great route runner at the receiver position. And again, it's still head scratching is who's your two receiver behind George Pickens? That's a position going into this season where the Steelers don't have a ton of depth. I think Pat Freiermuth factors into that mix. Steelers have a ton of tight ends on the roster. But I know Van Jefferson has experience. Maybe you say, well, Calvin Austin III could take that jump. See what the Steelers have with Roman Wilson, with the franchise's ability to draft and develop rookie receivers. But that's not immediately clear right now. And I've said this here on this show too. I don't think the Steelers' number 2 receivers on the roster yet. I could be wrong about that, but let's get into training camp here next month. Let's get into the preseason. Let's move along. Maybe other teams have injuries. Maybe the Steelers have injuries. Maybe another team has an injury at a position, say offensive tackle, or another position where the Steelers do have depth. And then the Steelers can make a trade of, hey, we both have needs that we need to address here. Would it make sense to make a deal? But Brandon Aiyuk, I don't blame him. He's doing what he needs to do to try to get as much money as possible. And he's played at a very high level at this young of a stage in his career. But I reiterate the fact that Keenan Allen, a 6-time Pro Bowler, who's 32, he's older than Brandon Aiyuk. The Bears gave up a 4th-round pick for him, also entering the final year of his deal in 2024. So just the contractual value of, again, Aiyuk is younger. A 3rd-round pick is about where I come down, where you could convince me into making that deal. But if you make that deal, if you're the Steelers, can you then get Aiyuk under contract beyond this coming season? Because you don't want to just do a 1-year rental and then you trade away that pick, a player on a rookie deal who can be a key contributor to this franchise for years to come on a rookie contract. And this is where Omar Khan has made his bones, is his understanding of contractual value. My name is Mark Bergin. Again, I told you this would be a short episode here today on Bleav in Steelers. I hope all of you have fantastic 4th of July holiday weekends if we are not back between now and then. A lot to talk about this offseason. I mean, we've got players entering contract seasons like Najee Harris, Cam Hayward, Pat Freiermuth. A lot to talk about when it comes to the quarterback position. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, as we get closer and closer to training camp this month. I mean, we're about a little bit more than 3 weeks away. Steelers players report on July the 24th, and the practices start July the 25th. So it's going to be here before you know it. But I hope all of you have fun, happy, and safe 4th of July weekends. Again, my name is Mark Bergin. Thank you to today's presenting sponsor, betonline.ag. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. We like reading the best ones here on this show on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Do me a favor. Hope all of you have a great rest of your weeks. My name is Mark Bergin. Thanks so much for watching Bleav in Steelers. I'll see you next time.